may recall from our earlier studies of God, means that God is ultimately in charge. God is in control. God's creation expresses His control. Listen to these verses from Psalm 89:11. The heavens are yours, and yours also the earth. You founded the world and all that is in it. Psalm 24:1 says, the earth is the Lord's, and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. The earth is the Lord's. He owns everything you see, including you. We have these things on loan for just a brief time while we're on this earth. It's true that some in His creation recognize His ownership, while others do not. But it is just as true that those who are acting as if the landlord will never return will one day see clearly the truth that you cannot ignore God's sovereignty. God is a gracious owner, but He is the owner. God is a patient owner, but He is the owner. God is a loving owner, but He is the owner. The third reason that God created is He created to reflect His character. Romans 1:20 says, from the time the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky and all that God made. They can clearly see His invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, so they have no excuse whatsoever for not knowing God. Day after day, night after night, year after year, that incredible display of sun and stars in the sky shout, God is a great and wonderful God. Psalm 19:1-2 tells us that the heavens declare God's glory. It says, the heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of His hands. Day after day they pour forth speech. Night after night they display knowledge. We can see God's character in what He has made. If we were to turn your small group into a pottery making class, you would clearly see people's character in the way each of us made our pottery. Some of you are very detailed, and you would be able to see that in the time and the energy you put into your pot, we would see that. And you would fashion the clay with great care. You would just hold it so carefully, making sure that it was perfectly smooth. And if you had a stick, you might even carve out an intricate design into the sides of your pot. Others of you, well, shall we say you're a little bit less detailed, and your basic goal would just be to see how quickly you could make your pot. Or maybe you'd try to make, more pots than anybody else in the room. You would see your character in what you have made. And some of you would be throwing little balls of clay at everyone near you. And I don't even want to talk about who that might reflect, but somebody like Rick Warren might do that. Okay, well, a closer look. Let's take a closer look, because the Bible is filled with verses that tell us God's creation is an expression of God's character. To look more deeply into this, take some time before next session to read through the verses that are listed on your outline, and there's several there that you're going to want to read through before next week. The fourth reason that God created is because He wanted to show His wisdom. Psalm 104:24 says, Lord, you have made many things. With your wisdom, you made them all. The earth is full of your riches. Proverbs 3:19 says, by wisdom the Lord laid the earth's foundation. By understanding, He set the heavens in place. Let's do something together. I want you to make a list with me of just a few of the ways that creation shows the wisdom of God. For instance, I see God's wisdom in the way the earth rotates perfectly around the sun. I see it in the way that He made a bird to fly, even in the persistence with which He gifted the ant. I mean, when I have ants on my kitchen cabinet, I don't say, what a wise and wonderful God you are. My first thought when I find my kitchen counters crawling with ants is, okay, God, I'm not sure why you made these ants, but it is in His wisdom. Well, where do you see God's wisdom as you look at how God made the universe and how God made you? The answer to why God created is the foundation for understanding creation. And with these truths under your belt, now we're ready to tackle some questions of how God created and when He created. How did God create? Read Genesis 1:3 with me. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And that settles it. God said light, and there was light. That's how God created. So, next question. Well, somehow for most of us, that's not quite enough information, is it? I mean, we just have this intense desire to figure out the how. Well, sifting through all that is said and written on this subject, there are three major views that are important for all believers to understand about this topic of creation. One of those is evolution. Now, you need to understand this is not a view of creation because evolution does not involve a creator. In the simplest terms, The view of evolution is that life originated from natural processes, beginning with the first living substance, a single cell, and continuing with the evolving of species. There is a widespread belief that evolution has been proven by science, thereby making the biblical account of creation absolutely obsolete and untrue. But let me remind you,